Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Yellowstone. Why leaving Montana would have been a risky ending for Beth and Rip. It would have been fun to see Beth, Kelly Rayleigh, and Rip Kohlhauser turn over a new leaf and start a fresh life outside Big Sky Country in Yellowstone, but the couple remains shackled to Montana despite Case, Luke Grimes, selling the Dutton family's heirloom ranch. In the Yellowstone Season 5 finale, Case sells the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch to the Broken Rock tribe. The decision relinquishes Beth from the burden of protecting her father's, Kevin Costner, treasured legacy, and she is free to move onto a ranch in Dillon, Montana, with Rip and Carter, Finn Little, and begin a new era. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 14, sees Beth, Rip, and Carter get settled on their slice of Montana at the end of the outing. The couple has 7,000 acres of deeded land and another 20 in a Bureau of Land Management lease, where Beth supposes her husband can run around 600 pairs of cattle. The land is 40 miles west of Dillon, without a tourist site, and has a breathtaking 360-degree view of the mountains. It has all the things the couple loved about Texas when Yellowstone Season 5 flashed back to their trip there. In Yellowstone Season 3, Beth and Rip's relationship takes off. Beth finally asks her dad if she can marry Rip, and is ecstatic about the development. However, the ranch hand's complicated legal history surfaces during this time, and Rip tells Beth that he can't go to a courthouse and get married because no record of him exists. While Beth is happy to have a ceremony at the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch that is void of most formalities, although she kidnaps a priest, Rip's undocumented status could still cause the couple hurdles, especially if they decide to leave Montana. The community is familiar with Rip and the other Yellowstone Dutton Ranch employees, but things could get riskier for Rip if he leaves Montana. While Beth and Rip could forge papers to cement Rip's existence, it makes sense for the couple to lie low anyway. Beth also kills Jamie in the Yellowstone Season 5 finale, and while there's no suspicion from the authorities so far, it wouldn't be a great look for Jamie's last contact to flee the state. Yellowstone doesn't explain precisely why Rip is undocumented, but the Beth and Rip Yellowstone spin-off could fill in the blanks. The spin-off will show Beth and Rip's first years outside life on the Yellowstone Ranch, and it will be the first time that Rip has existed anywhere but on the Dutton family's massive land plot, the largest contiguous ranch in the United States in years. Rip's undocumented status could still cause issues for the couple in the spin-off, regardless of the couple staying in Montana. Rip previously had thousands of acres to traverse at the ranch without explaining who he was to anyone. He earned a paycheck without providing legal information he would have had to elsewhere, but lost that privilege when Beth lost the ranch. The two things that will affect Rip the most in the spin-off are existing outside the ranch and John Dutton IE's death. When Rip traveled outside the ranch before, he was always in a Yellowstone Dutton Ranch truck that protected him from many forms of law enforcement. While some officers may still know Rip, he won't get the same treatment without the ranch's brand and his connections to John. Trivial elements like bank accounts and licenses will become tricky for Rip if he doesn't straighten out his status before the Beth and Rip Yellowstone spin-off. For fans of Yellowstone, Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler's relationship has always been the beating heart of the series. Their love story, built on deep loyalty, shared scars, and fierce devotion, symbolizes the gritty, unyielding spirit of Montana itself. With the show's penchant for high-stakes drama, the idea of Beth and Rip leaving Montana, abandoning the Yellowstone Ranch, might have seemed like a tempting narrative twist, but such a conclusion would have been a perilous gamble, undermining the essence of their characters and the story's foundational themes, the roots that bind them. To understand why leaving Montana would have been risky, we need to start with what Montana represents to Beth and Rip. For Rip, the Yellowstone Ranch isn't just home, it's salvation. Taken in by John Dutton after a traumatic childhood marked by violence and loss, Rip's identity is inseparably tied to the land. The ranch gave him purpose and a family when he had neither. Leaving Montana wouldn't just mean walking away from a job, it would mean severing the only anchor he's ever known. Beth, on the other hand, has a more complicated relationship with Montana. For much of her life, she's been at war with herself, haunted by guilt over her mother's death and her role in Jamie's betrayal. The land, with its sweeping vistas and untamed beauty, is as much a part of her story as her fiery personality. Montana isn't just where Beth grew up, it's where she became who she is. To leave it behind would be akin to erasing the very things that shaped her: her pain, her resilience, her love for Rip, and her loyalty to her father. The unbreakable connection to John Dutton. John Dutton's legacy looms large over every character in Yellowstone, but none more so than Beth and Rip. John's dream of preserving the ranch for future generations is a burden they've willingly accepted. For Beth, this mission is personal. She's the Dutton most like her father: ruthless, strategic, and fiercely protective. Leaving Montana would mean abandoning her father's life's work, something she'd never do willingly. Rip's bond with John is equally profound. As much a father to Rip as he is to his biological children, John's influence runs deep. Rip's loyalty to John isn't just about gratitude, it's about shared values. The ranch represents a way of life: hard work, loyalty, and the fierce protection of what's yours. To leave Montana would be to betray the man who gave him everything. The symbolism of the land. In Yellowstone, Montana is more than a setting, it's a character. The land represents legacy, survival, and the eternal struggle between progress and preservation. Beth and Rip embody these themes. Their love is as wild and enduring as the Montana landscape, and their struggles mirror the ranch's fight for survival. If Beth and Rip had left Montana, the show would risk severing this symbolic connection. Their story is one of perseverance and belonging, rooted in a land that's as unyielding as they are. A move away would dilute this symbolism, making their journey feel less authentic. The risk of alienating fans. Beth and Rip are fan favorites for a reason. Their love story is raw, passionate, and deeply tied to the ranch. Watching them navigate their challenges, from Beth's trauma to Rip's insecurities, has been one of the show's most compelling arcs. Taking them away from Montana would risk alienating viewers who've invested in their journey. Fans don't just love Beth and Rip, they love what they represent. They're fighters, survivors, and protectors. To see them leave the ranch, and by extension, their shared purpose, would feel like a betrayal of everything they've stood for. It would be a narrative risk that could undermine the emotional resonance of their story. Practical challenges of starting over. From a character perspective, the idea of Beth and Rip starting over elsewhere feels improbable. Beth isn't the type to run away from a fight, and Rip wouldn't be content anywhere that didn't involve the ranch. Their skills, their passions, and their identities are all tied to Montana. Relocating them would require a complete reinvention, which could feel forced and inauthentic. Moreover, their departure would leave a gaping hole in the Yellowstone narrative. Beth's sharp wit and unrelenting drive are central to the show's drama, while Rip's quiet strength and moral code provide a grounding presence. Without them, the ranch's fight for survival would lose much of its emotional weight. The unfinished business. Another reason leaving Montana would have been a risky ending is the unresolved conflicts that define Beth and Rip's journey. Beth's feud with Jamie, her complex relationship with her father, and Rip's role as the ranch's enforcer are all storylines deeply tied to Montana. Leaving would mean abandoning these arcs without closure, which would feel unsatisfying for both the characters and the audience. Beth and Rip aren't the kind of people who walk away from a fight. Their strength lies in their ability to face challenges head-on, no matter how daunting. For them to leave Montana would be to admit defeat, a choice that would contradict everything we know about them. A thematic disservice. At its core, Yellowstone is a story about legacy, loyalty, and the fight to protect what matters most. Beth and Rip leaving Montana would undermine these themes, sending a message that escape is preferable to perseverance. It would be a disservice to the characters and the story, robbing the series of its emotional and thematic resonance. A better path forward. While the idea of Beth and Rip leaving Montana might have been an intriguing narrative twist, it's clear that their place is on the ranch. Their love story, their struggles, and their triumphs are inseparably tied to the land and the legacy of the Dutton family. Any ending that took them away from Montana would risk betraying the essence of their characters and the heart of the show.